Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. I'm gonna give y'all some time to come in. Get my lighting together. Y'all see me okay? It looks better. That looks better. All right. So, sorry. I'm thirsty, y'all. Thirsty. Um, Good evening, everybody. I hope all is well. I hope all is well. I'm excited for tonight because I talk about this in passing often. And I wanted to make sure that I took some time to and dedicated some time in talking and discussing establishing core values. So I'm excited to talk through this. It actually has gone back and forth on the last poll that we did, which is good. It's exciting to see that you guys want to hear about this. So I'm going to do it a little different tonight because establishing core values is very robust and has a whole lot of information associated with it. So I only have 5 affirmations for tonight, but I'm also going to give you a lot of insight into like why establishing your values are important, and then also like what my core values are and how I came to those values, and then I'll give you 5 affirmations to take away. But really, this is really a journaling exercise. Hey, Hiru, welcome in. This is really a journaling exercise because if you don't, we may always have like in mind like what our values are. Like we may have an idea, but we've never like took the time to sit down and really establish what those are and use them for our advantage. I feel like that's the missing piece. So I'm going to talk through that a bit, talk through my core values, and then I'll give you some affirmations. If this is your first time, my name is Debbie. I'm a certified mindfulness coach. Hello, is it Bucket the Hat? Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, welcome in. If this is your first time, my name is Debbie. I'm a certified meditation and mindfulness coach. Hello, Elizabeth from Texas. Welcome, welcome. So basically, with this channel, it's all things mindfulness. Today, we're talking about core values. If you have listened to any of the meditations on this channel, that is my voice that you hear. But ultimately, I'm a certified coach. So we'll be talking about different mindfulness topics every week, Mondays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So stick around, like the live, make sure to subscribe if you haven't, so that way you get updates. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the establishing values, why it's important. Awesome. We're in the same time zone. I'm in Chicago, but we're in the same time zone, Elizabeth. And welcome, Mario. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So when we talk about core values, there are several different reasons why establishing our core values is very important. Hi, Bryson. Welcome from Michigan. So it's important. There's important reasons why we should establish our core values. So there's 5 reasons that I'm going to kind of talk through. So that way we have a good understanding of it. Then I'll talk about my core values. Feel free to drop in the comments anything that you value that you're kind of thinking of establishing as a core value. And we'll talk about it. We'll chat about it. So the first reason, and if you see me looking away from my screen, I'm just looking at my notes, guys. So the first reason why establishing core values is really important is, one, for your own personal clarity and direction. Okay, no problem, Bryson. The first thing is for your own clarity and direction. If you struggle with like decision fatigue, or if you just have a hard time making decisions or sticking to the decisions that you make, or if you have a tough time with like following your intuition, establishing your values will help eliminate a lot of the anxiety and stress that you may have surrounding decision fatigue. So the first thing with establishing your core values is having more clarity and direction in the decisions that you make, the things that you do, the people that you hang out with, the behaviors that you have, the actions that you take, the thoughts that you have. So we'll start with that, bringing more clarity and direction with that. When your values are clear, it becomes easier to make decisions that are aligned with your true self. You'll know what matters most, which helps prioritize goals and actions. Okay, so if you know what your true values are, if you know what you are corely attached to, when setting goals for yourself personally, professionally, it'll be easier. When you are setting boundaries with people, which I'll talk about a little bit, it will be a little bit more clear because you'll have your own values in place. That is what you result back to when making those decisions, when making those taking direction, and going in the direction and purpose that you want to go in. So it brings more clarity and direction. That's number one. Number two, it brings consistency. Okay, so if you have your core 5, 6, 3, however many values you want to set for yourself, if you have those core values and you keep resulting back to those values for your decision making, for your behaviors, for your actions, then it creates more consistency in your day-to-day life. If you struggle with being consistent, when it comes to your decisions, if you're doing a really good job one day, the next day it's the total opposite, and you're lacking consistency, having a core or a value set will definitely help in making those decisions. So number two is consistency. Number three is motivation and fulfillment, right? So living according to your values gives a deeper sense of purpose and satisfaction, right? Because you know what you're doing, you're set on what your values are, right? And what you want. And it also keeps us on track and minimizes feelings of worthlessness and hopelessness and provides strength in times of adversity. So yes, establishing your values and sticking to those core values will help with the continued motivation and the continued feeling of fulfillment. Fulfilling a purpose, fulfilling, what your passions are. And if you're linking your passions and your purpose to your values, then all of it will align and click. But if you are kind of all over the place when making decisions and with what your passions are and with what you want to do and what you want out of life, it makes more room for the feelings of worthlessness and hopelessness because you're striving for something that you're not quite sure about, or you're striving for something that has no real true value to you. Because a lot of times we strive for these goals based off of what we think we should do, or we watched a video and now all of a sudden we want to go this route. Or we, had one conversation with one person and now all of a sudden it just takes us off of our track. If we have something that's more well established, that gives us the foundation of what we want and what our desires are, then it will make it easier for us to find a sense of motivation and fulfillment when we are linked to our values. So that's what's most important. The next one that was number 3. So number 1 was clarity and direction. Number 2 was consistency. And number 3 is motivation and fulfillment. Number 4 is healthy boundaries, right? So once we have our values established, it's easier for us to set boundaries, okay? A lot of times we may go through life having a tough time setting boundaries and sticking to those boundaries. But if those boundaries are linked to our core values and something that we have established for ourselves, we establish an actual foundation, it will make it easier for us to set boundaries and then also make it easier for us to stick to those boundaries. Because a lot of times it's not necessarily setting the boundaries that we're having difficulty with, it's more so sticking to those boundaries and holding others accountable to those boundaries. So values help you set clear boundaries. It helps you to understand what you will accept and what you won't accept. It's also a guideline for what you will compromise on and what you will not compromise on. So keep that all in mind when it comes to thinking through values and what you want to establish as a core value. And then number 5, which is the last one, is community and connection. So knowing your values and really sticking to those values and going from day to day and keeping those values as your core, it allows for you to get rid of the riffraff of the people that are in your life that are not supposed to be there, right? So knowing your values and sticking to them attracts relationships with individuals who complement those values or have the same values that you have. So a lot of times we may have a whole bunch of people in our life that are at different stages of their lives that are, have values that are different from yours, and that's why there's so much contention, why there's so many issues, why you're always frustrated with the relationships that you have in your life, because of the fact that you may have people in your life that are not associated or don't complement the values that you hold true, right? So I'm gonna give some examples when I talk about my personal values, but I wanted to make sure that I made all of those connections, because it's truly important to think through your relationships. And if there are a lot of relationships that are causing or creating strife in your life, you may want to really think about, like, okay, what are my core values? And once you have your core values, then you can compare it to the people that are in your life, and do these people complement what I value, or are their values one and the same? And if not, then maybe the type of relationship that I have with them may need to be different, may need to change, or may not be a relationship altogether. Okay, I'll be real honest on that one. So that's community and connection. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Knowing your values attracts relationships and individuals who complement those values. We may have a lot of difficulty in our interpersonal relationships because values don't align. Okay, perfect. So those are the 5 reasons why establishing your values are truly important. Clarity and direction, your own consistency, your personal consistency, motivation and fulfillment, healthy boundaries, and community and connection. Okay? So, my values. So, when it comes to actually selecting values, it's more so of being very simplistic about it. You don't want to overcomplicate it. Just make sure that it's just 3 to 5 core things that you value for your life, for your personal life, and your interactions, right? There's so many different ways that you can go about establishing what your values are. So if you have a specific religion that you practice, that's probably most likely where you're going to want to start with establishing your values. I establish my values based off of my relationship with God. So when it comes to a lot of the values that I have, they're going to be associated with the fruits of the spirit and things. If you know anything about Christianity, that's where my core values come from. So based off of, that's the best place to start if you are practicing a particular religion. The other areas are what's the most important to you when it comes to the relationships, and what you want to exhibit to other people, and what you want those people to exhibit to you. So my 5 values, and I actually might add a 6th one, but my 5 values are authenticity, gratitude, honesty, compassion, and kindness. Authenticity, gratitude, honesty, compassion, and kindness. And I think I might add health to my list as well, because when it comes to comparing and making decisions, I feel like health is a big thing for me. And it's not just like physical health, but mental health, just health altogether. So I think I might be adding that as a 6. You don't want to go too high up, for too many. You don't want to have like 20 core values. That makes it a little bit more difficult. But I would say 3 to 5 is a sweet spot. At least keep it under like 8. That probably be, anything over that would probably be too much. But so yeah, authenticity, gratitude, honesty, compassion, kindness, and health, right? So when it comes to thinking about my behaviors, when it comes to thinking about my actions, my thoughts, my relationships, when I think about all of these things, my different interactions from day to day, when I think about all of those things, is the way that I'm acting, behaving, thinking, are those things authentic? Are they honest? Are they compassionate? Are they kind? Are they healthy? Are they healthy for me? Are they healthy for the people that are around me? And then does it exude a place of thankfulness or gratitude? That's how I think through my decision making. So now, anytime that I'm making a hard decision, anytime that I'm thinking about saying something to someone, anytime that I'm thinking about doing something or taking action on something, is it authentic? Is it kind? Is it compassionate? Is it honest? Is it healthy for me? You know what I mean? So now that I have that established, it makes it a lot easier for me to make decisions, right? So if I didn't have this before, I was just making decisions just based off of what I see, what's going on in the situation. I'm basing it off of my feelings, and as we all know, our feelings can lie to us. They can go back and forth. They can fluctuate. They can be temporary. So I can't necessarily listen to my feelings all the time, right? So if I result back to my values of authenticity, of gratitude, of honesty, of compassion, of kindness, and is it healthy? That's how I'll be able to make decisions in situations where my feelings or emotions are out of whack or just not in the best place, or if I'm moody or if I'm burned out. A lot of times we make bad decisions because we're burnt out, because we're tired, because we're frustrated, because we're angry, because we have all of these different feelings. And when we have all of these different feelings, it's hard for us to make decisions. So if we result back to our core values, that's how we're able to stay and remain consistent in our decision making and in our actions and in our behaviors, even when our emotions are all over the place, and or if we're having a hard time regulating our emotions. Okay, so yeah, that's really how you use your core values, and it's a lot more robust than that. But just for the sake of time, I want to make sure that I give you the nitty gritty of it, and that's why core values are important. So when it comes to how to establish, take into consideration what's truly important to you. Like I said, if you do practice a religion, if you have, a certain passions, if there are certain things that you really are important to you, take into consideration all of those things when selecting your core values, and then be simplistic. Start with 3 to 5 core values and journal why each one is important, right? Really take time to really think through these. If this is something that you're going to base your life off of, you really want to take your time with it, be patient with yourself in this process. And when approaching it, approach it with honesty. Take out all of the other things that people may put on you, or things that you may say, oh, well, this is just me. Because a lot of times when we adapt those different ideologies, it's based off of trauma and based off of our bad experiences. You want to eliminate those things, and you want to think about what is truly important to you, what is honestly a passion of yours, and establish your core values based off of the curiosity of yourself. And if you don't know who you are, it may be difficult. So you may have to go through that process of thinking, okay, who am I? What is it that I like? What is it that I don't like? What is it I'm passionate about? What's important to me? Asking all of those questions, okay? And then test it out. Right? As you're going and navigating through life, result to your core values. And if something doesn't make sense or doesn't feel right to you, or you feel like you need to change it, be open to changing and adjusting. Be open to your values of evolving as you grow and become a better version of you. So a lot of times, in my past and my younger self, some of compassion may not have been one of my core values. It may have been something else. But as I grew and got older, because health wasn't always a part of my core values, but as I'm getting older, and as my children are getting older, and as the world is changing and evolving, then my values may change and evolve. So be open to the change and the involvement, or one of your values being like, you know what, actually, this isn't something I value really. Maybe I need to change this out with something else. So be open, test things out, and, it's okay to fine tune your list if it doesn't feel right to you. Okay. So yeah, so that is the 5 reasons as to why we need to establish our core values and how to establish those core values. Let me know if there's any questions. Feel free to talk back to me. Drop a comment in the drop a comment below if you have any questions or anything, and like the live if you haven't already. Subscribe, all of that jazz, and we'll go ahead and jump into the affirmations. Since I went through a lot here, it is just 5 affirmations today. As I get actually it's 4. Yeah, 4 affirmations. 4 affirmations. So I'll share these with you guys, but really establishing your core values is a journaling exercise. And I've already done a meditation on core values that has a journaling component with it. So I'm going to add that to the to this live once I go ahead and save it, so that way you guys can resort back to it. So our meditation for this week is probably going to be a different topic. I'll just make sure to tag that core values meditation so that way you can see it, because this is really a journaling exercise. It's going to take some time. It's not going to be one sit down journal session. It is going to take some time for you to really sit down and establish what you want. But once you do, you'll feel so much better, because now it's not going to be, not to say it won't be difficult to make decisions or to navigate life, but it will give you a sense of direction. And I think that we're in a time where things are just so unclear and uncertain, and it's difficult just living day by day sometimes, based off of the times that we're living in. And having a baseline, having a foundation, having really having established what's important to you and what you want out of life is going to make things better. I guarantee it. I promise you it will. If you stick to it. Sometimes we'll establish values, we'll write it down in our journal, and we'll walk away. Like, why? We never go back and look at it. No, if you use it on a day-to-day basis, it will just make things so much more clear for you. Okay, so the 4 affirmations. The first one is, I trust my values to guide me even when the path is unclear. I trust my values to guide me even when the path is unclear. I trust my values to guide me even when the path is unclear. So it's just a matter of reminding us that we can trust the values that we establish. That's why I say that we have to approach it with patience, and we have to approach it with honesty, because without the honesty and the patience and the really us taking the time to think through these things, without that, it will be difficult to trust our values to direct us in the right way. Okay? So it's definitely important for us to think through those things so that way we can trust our values, right? I don't have an education. You don't have to have an education to establish core values. You know what you're passionate about and what's important to you. So that's number 1. I trust my values to guide me even when the path is unclear. Number 2, my values create harmony between my thoughts, words, and actions. My values create harmony between my thoughts, words, and actions. My values create harmony between my thoughts, words, and actions. So if we really do stick to our values and we establish and create those values, it will make our thoughts will match our words and our actions, right? And we want our thoughts, words, and actions to match. When our thoughts, words, and actions do match, it makes things clearer. It creates direction. People understand us more as well. People will begin to respect us more because our thoughts, words, and actions match. And it will make our lives and navigating our lives much easier when we actually have the values are creating that harmony between our thoughts, words, and actions. Okay, so understand that. So that's number 2. My values create harmony between my thoughts, words, and actions. Okay, number 3. My boundaries are a reflection of my values. I respect and honor them. My boundaries are a reflection of my values. I respect and honor them. I'll say that one more time. My boundaries are a reflection of my values, and I respect and honor them. So when it comes to our boundaries, right? And them reflecting our values. If they actually reflect our values, then it's easier for us to respect and honor and keep our boundaries, right? A lot of times when we go through life, we have a tough time, not even just setting the boundaries, but keeping them. Not even just for ourselves, but for other people. We will allow other people to surpass our boundaries because we're having a hard time sticking to them. Sorry, y'all. I'm going to, looks like I gotta be a part of the block ministry real quick on YouTube. Yes, there we go. All right. So yeah, so Instagram, I had to do block ministry. It's all right. So yeah, so when it comes to our boundaries reflecting our values, that's what's most important. And that will help us honor our boundaries, but most of all, it will help other people honor our boundaries, right? So it goes back to number 2 when it says, my values create harmony between my thoughts, words, and actions. If we create harmony between our thoughts, words, and actions, it will be easier for other people, to respect the boundaries that we set because they already see those boundaries in our thoughts and our words and our actions, okay? So it's easier for someone to respect you in that way when everything matches, when everything is clear. Nobody has to question who Debbie is. Nobody has to question, who you are, Hiru. Nobody has to question, who you are, because of the fact that everything matches. And when everything matches, everything lines up, then it's much easier to respect and honor the boundaries that you set for yourself and that you set for others. Okay? So that's number 3. And then lastly, number 4, I embrace discomfort even when it means staying true to my values. I embrace discomfort even when it means staying true to my values. I'll say that one last time. I embrace discomfort even when it means staying true to my values. Sometimes sticking to your values, sticking to your boundaries may not always be popular. It may not always be, okay? And sometimes we have to sit and be comfortable with that and be able to accept that that's a fact, okay? It may be the total opposite of how you've been operating right now. Because once you sit down and journal and think through what it is you want, and what your values actually are, it may look slightly different from the way that you've been doing things up until this point. And once you start to establish your values and start following them directly, the people around you may not like it too much. So we have to be comfortable and even embrace that discomfort as you start implementing these values into your life. Not everybody's going to like it. Not everyone is going to be accepting of it and may ruffle a few feathers, but be prepared for that and understand that that goes back to the community aspect that we talked about earlier, where we may be having difficulty in the relationships that we have because those people do not align with our values, but we haven't established it, so it's hard to really tell or understand if that's the case, right? So understanding that once you stick to those values and once you embrace those values, there may be some discomfort that comes along with it, but means that you're staying true to what you value and what you're most passionate about. Okay, so keep that in mind. So yeah, so those are the 4 affirmations. Number 1 was, I trust my values to guide me even when the path is unclear. Number 2, my values create harmony between my thoughts, words, and actions. Number 3, my boundaries are a reflection of my values. I respect and honor them. Number 4, I embrace discomfort even when it means staying true to my values. I hope that these were helpful, y'all. I really do. Going back to the top as to why establishing values are important is clarity and direction, consistency, motivation and fulfillment, healthy boundaries, and then community and connection. But yeah, this will be saved on YouTube, Instagram. So if you want to go back and watch the playback, you would have to go back to YouTube, to the YouTube channel and watch the playback. For those who are already on YouTube, it should be up, and I would say by the end of the night, you can go back and watch the playback. I will again add in the meditation that's associated, the meditation and journaling session that's associated with establishing your core values. So that way you can utilize that this week. And I hope this is helpful, y'all. If you want more, feel free to also check out my book. I talk about core values in the book, Non-Self, Let Me Be Great. So it is going to be attached to this video. Awesome. Thank you, Hiru. So definitely check out the book if you are struggling with, it's primarily around self-esteem. So if you are struggling with self-esteem, it's a great book to have. But even when it comes to establishing core values and well-being, it's great for that too. So check that out. And then there is a core values list somewhere. Actually, I think it might be attached to the meditation video. Yeah, I think it's in the comments of the meditation video. So if you're not quite sure where to start when selecting like a core values, there is like a core values list that you can pick from. So I'll make sure I think that's in the comments of the meditation. So feel free to look at it there. Otherwise, it was great seeing you all. Well, kind of seeing you all this week. Next week, I believe the poll was anxiety help. I'm pretty sure it was. And I don't think I did an anxiety live outside of holiday anxiety from last year. So yeah, so it will be on anxiety next week. And then after that, I'll do a new poll. But you all have a great rest of your night. If you haven't, lastly, if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, make sure to go to haveninspired.com and sign up for the weekly newsletter. You will get a new updated newsletter every Wednesday morning. It will be associated with this live too. So if you missed the live, it will have like a recap there and then any other mindfulness tips and things of that matter. So make sure to go to haveninspired.com and sign up for the newsletter. Until next time, y'all have a great rest of your day. Be blessed, and I will talk to y'all soon.